I guess I wanted to go back to the period of time that I knew that I met you, and I vaguely remember. I think that horrific debate I did it in Speaker's Corner that day with Ali Dawah and Mohammed Hijab. I think you were in the crowd then, and I'm just wondering because I think you were always. I don't know if you were arguing or you were debating Islam with. Were you debating Islam with them then?
So I'll be absolutely candid. I went to the park over a decade ago, maybe closer to 15. I'm old, and I've been going there a long time. And when I first started going, there were no cameras. And I went there as an interfaith brother. I was like, look, guys, your religion says X.
This is what I wanted to know. This is what I was getting at. What the history of it was for you.
And back then, every Muslim in the park, they'd see me, Yusuf, big hugs. There was like nothing but love. And then somebody brought a camera and started filming. Then another person brought a camera. And suddenly the atmosphere changed and it became much more hostile. And so I became much more confrontational. And this is probably after you. So you came in the in-between period where it used to be all love and peace. And isn't it amazing? We all descend from Ibrahim alayhi salam, Abraham, the patriarch. And then it started getting more toxic. And then you came and Tommy came and boom, it exploded. And you guys tarnished it for me because suddenly I'm public enemy number one as well. In fairness,
I'm sorry, but look, we ended up accidentally exposing what it actually was. Go on.
But more than that, you were ahead of the curve. I remember one time there was a guy there called, what was his name? Abu Ismail? I've forgotten his name. But an extremist.
Yeah.
And every time he saw me, I mean, this guy looked big. He looked like he was, I mean, he definitely was. He was lifting. He was a fighter. When Tommy came, you'll remember him. He was the guy that had the chain, the metal in his gloves. There was a whole thing about him.
I vaguely remember this, yeah.
I think maybe it was something Al-Farsi, maybe Abu Ismail Al-Farsi, the Persian. And
he's a Persian. He was a Shia.
Every time he was a Shia that apostated to Sunni or reverted. So they're always the most fun, the reverts.
Yeah. Well, I was going to get to that with you in a second, but go on.
And so this guy, every time he saw a big hug, Yusuf, I love you, Habibi. That's incredible. And then one time I noticed a comment under one of my videos, and he'd forgotten he'd given me his Islamic name, because he obviously had his normal name, and then he had his jihadi name. And it was like, Zionist, your days are coming. And I was like, bro, you told me this is your name. I know who it is. You snake. Your hugs and kisses in the park.
Wow.
Kiss on each cheek, well, Habibi. And then online, you're sending me death threats. And so you saw the reality that optimists like me were unable to differentiate, because I fell into the trap that most liberals fell into. And I'd say Tommy Robinson fell into the other camp, and maybe you a bit the other way. So that I would cluster all Muslims together and say we can make peace with all of them. They're all the same. It's just this big homogenous block of Muslims that if only you speak to them correctly, they'll see it beyond their bigotry, their prejudice, and they'll be your best friend. And I'd say on the other side, the activists who were on the counter jihad side, they did the same, but we can't make peace with any of them. And in between was the reality. So say someone like Tommy, I think one of the reasons why Tommy is toxic to the Jewish community today, because I have a similar background. I'm from a working class community in the north of England. He's from a working class community in the south. And he said things that if someone said them about Jews, it was beyond the pale. I remember one time he tweeted, he called Muslims musrats. This is a working class football casual. And so he's not going to be as eloquent. Maybe he's not going to be as sophisticated and nuanced in his thinking as a kid as he would be as an adult. And I think the Jewish community falls into the trap of viewing him by maybe things he said 20 years ago rather than what he's saying today. And I think that's the disconnect there. And to bring it back to us in Speaker's Corner, I think people like you and Tommy were just, okay, this is a problem. This is Islam. Everyone's the same. And I was like, no, guys, you're wrong. Muslims are lovely. You just have to speak to them correctly. And the truth was in between the two. There's some, the Islamist, the extremists. I don't like the term Islamist. They don't use it. We use it. But the extremists...
It's honestly, it's just a way to get around censorship, to be fair. That's
Completely. It's a word that describes Muslims that I don't like, and you cannot define one because is it a Muslim that supports the caliphate? Well, all Muslims support the caliphate in theory. Is it a Muslim that wants to follow Sharia? Well, all Muslims should be
well, to
following
me, it's just
Sharia.
a Muslim that is not willing to ignore the parts of his faith which are obviously abhorrent. So he's willing. He's not. Look. That's the argument that Tommy Robinson has always made. It's like you can be a good Muslim. It just means you're not a real Muslim. Like you're not actually practicing what it's telling you or what it says in the scripture. And I know that the scripture itself is so contradicting. Like probably most scriptures, the difference is that there are so many more of them that act out on it. But this goes back to that conversation that we said before, that there is clearly a progressive part of the Muslim community that is willing to ignore the hateful parts towards us and want to build, build bridges and want to focus on the good parts of the Quran that talk about the people of the book, not the ones that's telling them to kill us. So I guess you have that in any faith, but it's a bit more pronounced in Islam.